We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day is going well. It's Thursday, and we have a guest today. The guest is somebody you know very well. He's been on the show many times. Jace from San Antonio, Texas, same time zone. So, one of the few times where the time works out evenly for both of us. So, Jace, thanks for joining us today. It's always good to see your face and hear what you have to say.
Well, thanks, Mike. Not too many people tell me that. It's nice to see my face. That's good to hear, especially as I get older, man. But thanks for having
Yeah.
me on. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, I don't get that much either. This past week, my son and my daughter-in-law had a new baby.
No, congratulations.
Thank you. And my granddaughter's been staying here intermittently as they're trying to get things settled with a new baby. And they got a dog, and the dog is with my daughter-in-law's father. And but I've had my 5-year-old here uh, two or three times this week, and she's going to be here tomorrow night. And she's just a goofy little kid. Imagine this at 65 years old, I'm sleeping, okay? And we had to get up early because we had to take her to school, but we have to go way the hell north of here to do that. And my wife tells her, go wake up grandpa. And this is how she wakes up grandpa. I'm laying there. She thinks this is hilarious. She's taking her little fingers and she's just doing this all over my face. And for the first, I'm not awake at first. I'm going, what the fuck is going on here? And I open up and I see that big round head standing there. I'm going, Jesus, I forgot she was here. But she succeeded in waking me up. I wanted to bring something up, and I didn't tell you about it ahead of time because you no doubt heard it if you've been watching TikTok or some of the other social media. There's a lot of things we can talk about. Elon Musk, the big beautiful bill, all this stuff. We got plenty of stuff to talk about. But the one thing that's really caught my interest, and I'm almost kind of annoyed by it because it's like things we've heard before. And this is basically people coming out and saying, you know, we haven't seen Donald Trump in 4 or 5 days. What the hell's going on? That's weird. We usually see his face, his orange fat face plastered all over TV one way or another. And they say, well, he's retruthing. Well, yeah, but anybody could be doing that. Where is he? Now you got the psychics coming out going, I channeled this from Archangel Michael. He's dead. I'm going, Jesus Christ. Why would you put yourself out there like that? Now, if there's something that happened to Donald Trump and he keeled over and is incapacitated or has passed, I'm as happy as any motherfucker would be. And I will cheer that when we get that word. But to just say that is is stupid. It's just stupid. Because I got to tell you, if something like that happened, there would be even more chaos than what we see right now. I mean, people would be freaking out, and nobody's freaking out. So I don't really think that's the case. I'm curious as to what you think about that. It's odd that we haven't seen him for 4 or 5 days, but I think people are going off the deep end here.
It doesn't surprise me when it gets kind of quiet, which I don't think it's really quiet right now. I think the media
No.
makes shit up. I've heard this before. I heard this a few years ago about, oh, well, we haven't seen him in a while. They did the same
Yeah.
thing to Biden. The
Yeah.
difference is Biden was doing his fucking job and, Trump is, having a hissy fit, and ordering investigations into, if they mistreated Joe Biden with the auto pen. Nah, it's nothing. I don't think that they can really hide it if something did. I mean, it would almost be like Weekend at Bernie's. We've all seen that movie where they get him up there and stuff. But I mean, presidents, and Biden kind of did this too. I mean, he wasn't always there. He wasn't always in front of the cameras, but it is different for Trump not to be there in front of the cameras. And I don't know if anything is there. Psychics, a lot of them said that Kamala was going to win. So, that's what you can think about psychics because, the third angel on God's right said so. So I don't know until I hear about it.
Yeah.
I don't know. People, it's like on TikTok, it's like that. What's that story, that game we used to play as kids when you whisper in somebody's ear? You know what I mean? And
Telephone.
yeah,
Telephone.
telephone. And the other kid says the kid, another thing says the thing. There's probably, and I think in every rumor, there's a little bit of truth. So it may get out that he's been sick and hiding in, his age, shit, our age. I mean, you get sick
Yeah.
and it could be, but I haven't seen anything yet. But then again, are we going to see something if he does? I mean, they're going to have to come out eventually, unless they, you know, clone him like they did Joe Biden.
Yeah, well, they got the clone, or they probably have a robot too,
Yeah.
which always struck me strange. They were wondering, Donald Trump is setting up an investigation to see if Joe Biden was in his right mind while he was president. I don't know what they hope to find there, but it's not going to make any difference regardless of what they find. But why are they checking out the cognitive ability of a clone or a robot? I would think if you cloned the guy or there was a robot, the cognitive ability wouldn't be a factor.
Well, that's what pisses me off about the media, about how, Jake Tapper and that other dude wrote that book, and they're really worried about, Biden's mental state. They witnessed stuff. Well, why the fuck didn't you say anything then? Why did you wait
Exactly.
until you wanted to write a book? And lo and behold, I don't know if you heard today, but Biden's former press secretary has a book coming out of
Right.
working in a broken system. And she's coming out as an independent,
Right.
saying that, it was a broken system. Both systems are broken. I'm going to come out as an independent. I mean, she got that job. She wasn't the greatest press secretary. Nobody will be Jen Psaki if you ask me. But
No.
I think the Biden administration believed in her enough to put her in there. And I don't think she was that great because, I mean, she wasn't bad as the one we got now. But a lot of people, I read a political article I was reading today, and I still, read mainstream media because there's always, a little bit, it's not too biased, but they were saying that a lot of people that work with her are calling this a grift. So
Yeah. Oh, that's what it is.
she's doing what a Jake Tapper is, and that hadn't worked for Jake Tapper because his ratings are down. And I think his first week was like, I saw something 53,000 compared to Bob Woodward's was like 1 million. I
Yeah.
mean, it includes like audiobooks and stuff like that. But people are trying to make a name off Biden and like what they did. I mean, you don't wait till the house is burning down to talk about it. And I'm not saying that was under Biden. I mean, if he did, I mean, he's not the first, but I
Well,
don't think
here's
he
the
was so
no,
out of it
no.
that, what they're saying.
Well, here's the deal. First of all, the woman you're talking about is Karine Jean-Pierre.
Yes.
She was the spokesperson for Joe Biden. She took over for Jen Psaki, and as you say, she was a weak replacement for Jen Psaki. Jen Psaki was very good at what
Yes.
she does. Um, I was surprised she hung in as long as she did because she seemed a little shaky all
Yeah.
along the way. Now, has anybody said anything about what she wrote in the book? She says she doesn't want to be a Democrat. She's going to be an independent. But did she have any comments about that Joe Biden was losing his shit, or was she kind of quiet about that?
I read some of the quotes that was saying that she worked for a broken White House. I think that she said that, and she said about both parties being broke. So why do you go up there and it has to be one of the hardest jobs, unless you're the current one that I don't even pay attention uh,
No.
to do that. But they say the thing about her is that she wanted a Jen Psaki deal. She wanted, she thought her appearance on The View would get them to hire her and bring her on. Like, I guess, who's that girl that used to work for Trump? She's actually, she was on CNN. I forget what she was. She's a conservative, but she's a lot better than uh, Meghan McCain was. But she wanted that kind of deal that Jen Psaki got. So I guess, and she didn't. They didn't hire her. I guess she was on there after the White House. So this book's coming out. I hadn't heard anything that she was writing on nothing. But all of a
No.
sudden the book comes out and I just in the back of my mind, I don't have any proof. It's kind of like, everybody says that Elon rigged the election, until you see proof. But there's probably some big money, dark money behind this book, maybe, a publisher or stuff that wants to, kind of capitalize on, it's always good to beat up the guy that leaves the White House. Trump
Yeah.
went through it when he left, but, he deserved it. And,
Well, this
presidents
Korean,
get beat up on that. So, but who knows?
this Korean Jean Pierre, she wanted a deal like Jen Psaki. The big difference between the two. Jen Psaki was good. She was personable. She was articulate. And Karine Jean Pierre wasn't that good. I mean, she was competent in the sense she
Yeah,
was clear, but she didn't seem confident in herself. She
unsure.
doesn't really have the personality. She just didn't pull it off. So it's not surprising that she didn't get a big job afterwards. But whether Donald Trump is talking about it, whether Jake Tapper is talking about it, you can tell me that Joe Biden had cognitive abilities that were diminishing. But we know in the first 2 years, at least, of his presidential term, he was the most productive president in the history of this country. So cognitively diminished or not, he did a hell of a job, and that should be the most important factor that we discuss right now. We have somebody else who's cognitively diminishing, and he hasn't done shit but fuck up this country. So where's the real story? Is that Joe Biden, who's now a private citizen suffering with cancer? Or do we deal with the problem at hand, and that being Donald Trump? Like you said, Jake Tapper, if you knew something, say it while he's president when it makes a difference.
It's like those clowns in the house. I guess Comer, they're gonna subpoena Joe Biden's doctor. Isn't there something called HIPAA laws that he doesn't have to do that for? Did they are they that stupid? Well, that's a dumb question. I mean, I would think that Joe Biden's doctor could like, not do it and give him a big FU. And of course,
Yeah.
they'll go, "Well, what are you trying to hide? What are you trying to hide?" But I mean, Biden's president and all this stuff, but there's got to be some shit that's, I mean, do presidents, do they have to release all their medical records? I know sure hell Trump hasn't. Oh, it's the
Not when
greatest
they're
cognitive test of all time. I mean, we haven't seen it. We've seen Biden's. I mean, if Trump had this same kind of uh what's it called, prostate cancer that Biden had, we fucking wouldn't know about that. He could have it now. We don't know about that because he's not transparent at all. He's just like, oh, I pass with flying colors. And the doctors he hires are a bunch of quacks. I mean, they're nuts.
Oh, we know if you're subpoenaed by Congress, it doesn't really matter. You don't
No,
have
it
to
doesn't.
go. Doesn't really matter. So yeah, I mean, here's a House of Representatives is the least productive House of Representatives in history. First 100 days, they got 5 bills through. That was the lowest amount anybody's ever done in history. So now instead of trying to get things accomplished, either for Donald Trump or for this country, they want to start another investigation. Here's the problem with Republicans. They don't know how to govern. They don't have any direction. All they know how to do is attack the opponent. The problem is we don't have an election this year. So what's the point of attacking somebody? But that's all they know how to do. They can't govern. They aren't productive. So they're just doing what they know how to do, attack some opponent. And this fucking opponent is now a private citizen with cancer and none of it fucking matters. Leave the guy alone. Let's focus on what's going on now.
Well, that's the thing about too about Trump. When he left, he actually gone until, you know, and it's like, well, why did you prosecute him? Well, you prosecute him because he caused a little thing called January 6th.
Yep.
They can say he didn't, but he told them to go to the damn building. You know what I mean? When you tell people to go towards somewhere, it's inciting them to do something.
Yeah.
And I mean, and the thing about Trump that just really pisses me off, and it doesn't. I guess that's an overstatement. It doesn't piss me off. I've just learned to accept it. It's like, here you go. I have people talk about that those criminals should be in jail. I mean, like the president. Well, that
Yeah.
was a bunch of trumped up charges. He was found guilty by a jury of his peers. And if those peers
Absolutely.
weren't billionaires, that's not the felony's problem. That's what they did. I was actually on jury duty today, and I actually went through and I just was sitting there thinking, you and me and MAGA too, we're all held to a different standard than Trump. Yeah, there's been presidents in the last, that, did stuff, got a blowjob, occasionally, did stuff like that and maybe did some shady deals. But this guy I mean, he's a fucking felon. He wouldn't be able to serve on a jury.
All right.
I mean, it's like, but we
He
elect him.
can't he
Come
can't go
on.
to Canada.
No.
Fucker can't go to Canada.
No, you can't go to Canada if you have a DWI. I had a friend of mine
Right.
that worked for me at one time, and he went to Canada and they wouldn't let him in just for one DWI. And it was already,
Yeah.
I think, taken care of. It's like shit, they don't fuck around. And that's what America has lost. I mean, everybody laughs at Canada for being weak. Canada's a lot fucking stronger than we are. I mean, we're when I look at America, it's like everything's for fucking sale. I mean, you have reality stars that, oh, it was, and you see the comments, oh, thank God they got out. It was such a witch hunt. They don't put you in fucking prison for all that shit. You know what I mean? Yeah, there's people that are put in prison for their race, being at the wrong place at the wrong time. But when they have your fucking signature on fraud and all this stuff, I mean, it's not, I mean, I guess what we're gonna have to start doing is start bypassing, if you want to put somebody away, bypassing the federal, for now, the federal laws, because if they were charged on state laws, they wouldn't get pardoned. And that may be
Right.
something the blue states have to do is start focusing, well, we're going to put them away, not the feds,
Right.
because it's just ridiculous. I mean, hell, who's fucking next? The Tiger King dude? I mean, he was all bitching about not getting one. Hell, I'd let him out before I let Todd Christie. I mean,
Well,
honestly, it's just fucked, man.
well, here's the thing. We know pardons are for sale. We know in the
Yes.
first term there was rumors saying that you could get a pardon for $2 million, and there were some rappers and some other people that were pardoned just out of the blue. It's a play for pay for play. Uh,
Yes.
Chris Lee's apparently came up with enough cash to get Donald Trump to give them a pardon. Tiger King, I don't think has much cash, so he doesn't have much chance.
Yeah.
But all these other clowns are finding ways to come up with money. I mean, he pardoned some guy who was uh, committing fraud against Social Security, and his mom happened to show up at a fundraiser, $1 million fundraiser, and then a few days after that, the guy gets a pardon. We know what the fuck's going on here.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and what gets me about it too is that it it I mean, he did a pardon for, I guess, some civil rights guy or something. He did something. He was in his first term. He was in prison, and I think Kim Kardashian
Yeah,
like
Kim
helped
Kardashian
get
was
him
involved.
out, and it's like, okay, I can see that. A guy that probably didn't get a fair trial or made a mistake, or I mean, I don't know the whole thing. Hell, there was somebody he pardoned that the media didn't talk about too much because it's probably not glitzy. There was a couple of fishermen that were out fishing in Florida, and they got there were some lines, and they thought they were like what are they, illegal lines, so they let I think it was who was it, some sharks go, and the feds went after them because it belonged to another legitimate fishing. I mean, how do you tell? But
Yeah,
they probably see that shit all the time, but they got charged with maritime, something that was obviously a mistake. Okay, I get that. That's a pardon, and I can agree with that. The guys made a mistake. They're not ripping off, banks. Hell, look
right.
at who's Stormy Daniels' lawyer, Avenatti. He was kissing
Yeah,
Trump's ass to get a pardon. He knows what's up. Bob Menendez. He was
yeah.
asking for a pardon. The mayor of New York, he's looking. I mean, did he get pardoned or he'll get a pardon? So, I mean, I don't know if they can they pardon New York City? Is it state charges or I'm not sure, but I
Well,
mean, they're,
basically, the mayor of New York had some federal charges. He basically went to the DOJ and said, "Don't do anything," and they
Mhm.
said, "Cool." That's what happened. He didn't get a pardon, but he did get let off the hook by the DOJ.
Well, we're getting into real dangerous territory because it's almost like people and people can get the attitude, well, he doesn't have to do it. Why should I? Nobody should be above the law.
Right.
I mean, if you believe in God, he's the one above the law. But it's just, in this, like I said, in the jury duty, they read all these things and I go, well, and that, Trump couldn't serve on a jury. I mean, it's like, why would you have a president? Why would you have somebody serve as president, you know, that's a felon? And I forgot because America is yet sexist and racist still, even on the
Right.
Democrat side, because we all know that more Democrats would have shown up, she would have won and won handily. But no. So it gets that thing, and I just don't know how other people aren't pissed about this because he's also doing something now where he's creating a national database of people, and it's like
Yeah.
I remember hearing about that was rumors Obama and Clinton were doing that back in the day from the right wing. Now, not a fucking word about it, and it's happening.
Yeah, what's that? Well, I don't know that it's actually going to happen. Somebody asked me about it earlier today. It's called Planeteer, and basically it's putting everybody's information in one location under the control of one group of people. And they're trying to make it sound like there's good reason for it. But what it is it allows people to pick and choose people that they want to deal with. If they want to punish somebody, they have all their information, their banking information, their contact information, their social security number. And this, if that were to happen, that would be pretty dystopian. And I have to think there's going to be a lot of people pushing back, and the process to get that done is going to be difficult. And over and above that, it's what I always say about Donald Trump. He has a lot of big plans, but he always fucks them up. He never really accomplishes the things he wants to. I mean, the tariffs, sure, he put them in place, but now we've got judges saying, no, you can't do this, you can't do that. Donald Trump is an idiot, and he will fuck anything up that he's in the process of. If they do what I told this person, I says, I don't think it will happen. However, it is a glaring red flag that we should take notice of and protect ourselves from either this time or maybe something down the line.
I just don't think, I grew up with the whole liberal media stuff, and maybe back then it was, but I mean, it's so obvious now that, they're not covering Trump like they did Biden. I mean, hell, they're going after Biden more now that he's gone. The man could be
Yeah.
dying. And it's like, there was also an article I read, I think in Slate, and it was talking about, I mean, it's like people have no shame no more. Like that congresswoman that said, we're all going to die. I mean, that tops let them eat cake. I mean, it's like at least she said, well, let them find something to eat. Well, now it's say, well, let them fucking die. And it's just, it's like, I remember the Republicans I mean, you kind of look at somebody like Sarah Palin as a fucking genius now because what were those death panels she was talking about? That's
Yeah.
exactly what let them, we're all going to die are. They're going to let the sickest among us die are the ones that aren't rich enough. She called it out, said the Democrats were doing that, but like everything else, the Republicans project onto the Democrats of what happened. I got to tell you something, Mike. And it's like I tell people that are still MAGA, being in Texas, it's like they try to blame shit on Democrats. I go, which Democrat? Can you tell me who's leading the Democratic Party? Because I sure as hell can't.
No, you
Those
can't.
and me being an agnostic and a skeptic on stuff, it's kind of like, the devil made me do it, and all this shit, But it's like the Republicans are running to something. It's like wrestling. You got to have a good guy and you got to have a bad guy. Well, they're supposed to be the good guys. Well, the fucking bad guys are in hibernation because I haven't seen anybody step up. I've seen Pete here. I see AOC here. I just don't see it. But it's just like, and you still have people that buy into this bullshit. I mean, half
Yeah,
the shit they've accused Democrats of, Republicans are doing right now.
absolutely. Well, that's the one thing Corinne Jean Pierre said that makes some sense. She said that both parties are broken, and I tend to agree. I mean, we have a lot of problems with the Republican Party. The Republican Party bears no resemblance to what it once was. But the Democratic Party has a lot of problems too. Like you say, they have no leader. Now, I have a theory as to why they don't have a leader yet. They won't have it till, because as I was talking about before, what do the Republicans do? They have no policy, they have no strategies, they can't govern. All they do is attack. So maybe the Democrats don't want to give them somebody attack for the next 3 years, because that's all they'll do. They'll try to destroy that person, or maybe somebody doesn't want to step forward yet because they know they're going to be have their feet put to the fire. It's a sad state of affairs if that's true, but it would not surprise me. Why give them bait to do the only thing they know how to do, and that's attack whoever their opponent is?
That sounds like a fucking coward to me. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I've voted for both sides. And I'll tell you what, I'll never vote for a goddamn Republican ever again. I'll tell you that. I don't care
Oh, I
if
won't.
There's a lot of rumors about Gavin Newsom will run it, and I'm not down on him as much as a lot of people are because I can see what he's doing. But there's rumors that he's going to run as a Republican, and it's like you couldn't get me to do that. You couldn't get Kamala to come back as a Republican. I'm a big Kiss fan. You couldn't get one of those guys, Kiss, to run as a Republican. I wouldn't vote for him. But I don't like this is because the Democrats are losing ground. They've lost the men, supposedly, and they're losing the minorities. I don't believe that. I think it's more of a sexual, racial thing. And because there's a lot of Democrats that I know that I hold that, they're extremely sexist, and I think it's a lot of racism too. But you got to have somebody, you've got to be rebuilding your brand. You've got to have something to give people confidence to vote for you. Yeah, you can wait 3 or 4 years, but how much damage are they going to do? Who's fighting back now? And what's
Yeah,
going to make people come back and say, that motherfucker was fighting me for the last 2 years, not just coming up right now? I see a Tim Waltz doing it. I think he would be great,
I
but
do
I
too.
don't, I don't think that, I think what David Hogg's running into with the DNC is what I think that's why there's no leadership. I mean, yeah, they're supposedly leaders, but what he's saying is something I totally agree with. If you're not doing your fucking job, you need to get fired. I don't care if you're safe and if you've been there for 300 years like most, senators have. Get off your fucking ass. Start, grassroots some shit. Get that left side that you lost because Genocide Joe. Reach out to them, talk to them. Don't fucking hal pal with the Dick Cheneys. And I get why she did that, and I do not blame her, and I do not think that's why she lost. But my God, you got what, 3 years before you got what, a year and a half before the midterms about, and you got, 3 years before the thing. Start building something. Start putting your name out there. I guarantee goddamn to you, Trump didn't, the Republicans didn't do that. My motherfucker's name was in there. There was no doubt he was going to run again. No doubt.
Yeah. Well, with Kamala and Liz Cheney, I don't think it cost her the election,
No.
but I think it wasted a lot of time
Yeah, I agree.
unnecessarily. And actually, when she first did it, I thought, well, that's not a bad idea. I get that. With the premise that people were upset with Donald Trump on the Republican side, and maybe if she sided with Liz Cheney, she could pull some of those Republicans over to her side. Well, we found out very quickly no Republicans coming over to her side, no matter what. So as long as we know that, we don't have to worry about taking the time to try to convince Republicans. We can't. Now, with regards to Gavin Newsom, I have a theory of what he's trying to do, and it would just solidify what I think about Gavin Newsom now. At first, I liked him because he's a good talker and he fought back against Trump, but he's very slick, he's very establishment. And I think people have clearly pointed out they don't want that. They don't like that. That's why they elect somebody like Donald Trump. So we should note that. That's why Tim Walz might not be a bad idea. He doesn't give you the slick establishment type feel. He kind of goes against things, and that might be something they like. J.B. Pritzker, same thing. Um, but I think Gavin Newsom, um, who tends to be more left of center, um, maybe even right of center on some things because people are pissed off at him. You know, he's going around arresting homeless people and shit. He's not the most compassionate motherfucker.
I know.
But I'm thinking Gavin Newsom is trying to look ahead and play this out. He knows Donald Trump is going to crash and burn. And when he crashes and burns, MAGA is going to crash and burn. So when it comes down to 2028, the Republicans are going to try to rehabilitate themselves, try to be more normal. And if they could get a guy who's slick like Gavin Newsom, who used to be a Democrat, as their Republican candidate, Gavin Newsom sees a niche there for himself. That's my guess.
Well, he was married to Kimberly Gargoyle, whatever her name was. So, I mean,
Yeah.
back when she was actually attractive. And I I don't know if Gavin Newsom, I don't think the Republic, I mean, they may be desperate enough to put him on there, and he may be desperate enough to try to be president. But yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying, but I'll give him the benefit of the doubt until he proves me otherwise. I mean, he's not perfect, nobody is, but If he was the Democrat candidate, if he would, a lot of people say, well, if he ran for Democrat, I wouldn't vote for him. I would. I'd vote for a
Yeah,
freak, like say a Cheeto before I'd vote for, a Republican. But yeah, I can see that. I can see that if opportunity, because what do they say? Enemies make strange bedfellows. Yeah, I can
yeah.
see that.
Well, and, and
I
and
don't
he
trust
strikes me
anybody.
he strikes me as a guy who's very self-serving, self-enriching. He's not as concerned about the country or the people as he is whatever he can get out of it, which is pretty common amongst politicians. It's not just him, but that's the impression I get by just looking at him. Kind of arrogant. He's slick. He's a good-looking guy, and it's all about what he can get for himself. He's probably figuring out, well, I'll get what I want for myself, and then I'll do good when I get there, which never happens. But um, yeah, I think that he's all out for himself. 3 years is a long time. I have a feeling shit will go down, and he won't be a factor, certainly for the Democrats. And who will be the Democratic candidate? I don't know. If I was to pick two people right now it would be Tim Walz and J.B. Pritzker because they seem like the kind of guys that don't fit the mold of politics in D.C. They aren't establishment, and they're willing to fight, and that's what we need. Because, like you said, if he ran as the Democratic candidate, you would vote for him. And that's my attitude about this upcoming presidential thing in 2028. It doesn't matter. We have to win. And whatever
Yes.
it takes to
Okay.
win, that's what we need to do. It's kind of like what I was saying about when Donald Trump was running against Kamala Harris. People say I don't like Kamala Harris because of this, or because of I want this, and she's not talking about. I said, look, here's the deal. If you vote for Kamala Harris, you may not get everything you like, but at least there's a path to get there as long as you're patient. If you vote for Donald Trump, that fucking path has been cut. It doesn't exist anymore. So that's the opposite. That's the option. And the thing is, everybody, I want what I want now. And you have to understand this is a process. Obama once said everything in politics is fucking slow. It takes forever. So you got to look ahead as opposed to expecting to get what you want today. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, and it goes back to Kamala, and I'll always say this to the day I die. America fucked up.
They did.
I uh I read her book and before when she was running it's like last year, and I when the housing crisis happened, and a lot of people I know around here lost their houses because
Hmm.
the attorney general, I don't know who it was back then, it could have been Abbott, didn't stand up to, banks like Chase. Well, she did. She went head to head with Johnny Diamond. And that she would have done that for all Americans, me, you, MAGA, she would have done that. Trump is worried about his billionaire friends. He's worried about all this stuff, and he talks out of two sides of his mouth because I talk to people and they're talking. I had somebody tell me the other day, we were talking about something about how, this big, beautiful bill doesn't, touch Medicare and, and all this stuff. And I'm like, have you read the bill? No. I go, did Tucker Carlson tell you that? And that's what it is. I mean, I
Yeah.
saw the top, and I just look at America sometimes and we're so fucked because you have, Lena McMahon who doesn't know about, Black History Month, so to speak. She had no idea. This is a woman who's a billionaire. And
Yeah.
that's not the definition of white privilege, but it's DEI. Oh, God forbid we do all three of those fucking words to help out our fellow man. You know what I mean? And it doesn't have to be just, one race. I mean, my God, there's a big fucking pie that like few people are fucking eating, but there's enough for all of us. But
Yeah.
no, that's fucking socialism. And she went against Johnny Diamond and she got California a lot of shit, and a lot of people were able to keep their house. If Gavin Newsom runs for president as a Democrat, he won't carry California because I don't think. I mean, they California has some hot spots like Orange County, the rich spots, but I don't think he could carry California. And as a Republican, he would need California.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't think he could carry it as a Democrat though, right?
Oh, yeah, I think so. And that's And that sounds almost, we almost sound like a couple MAGA guys talking like this, but like, well, if he was a Democrat, but we have been beat down so bad, and I say we because, I forsake that life a long time ago. And it's like we gotta win because if there is like a JD Vance gets up there who's 10 times worse than Trump, somebody who's actually competent, and JD Vance is not a fucking idiot. He fucks a lot of couches, but he is not an idiot. And we all have our, things.
But here's the thing though. Everybody's worried about J.D. Vance becoming president if Donald Trump cacks in the fucking Oval Office. Here's the thing with him though. He is not a good replacement for Donald Trump. If Donald Trump dies or something happens to Donald Trump, MAGA is going to shrivel up and die because there is nobody that can replace Donald Trump in the position he has. Nobody gives as much confidence in any other candidate, especially J.D. Vance. They don't. I don't even think the Republicans like that motherfucker. Certainly not MAGA. Uh, but he's also weak. He's also weak, as we found, that he is completely controlled by Peter Thiel, the Republican Party, by Donald Trump. He is fucking clay that they just mold any way they want. So if Donald Trump was to go away and J.D. Vance was to be the president, I don't think he'd be worse than Donald Trump. His ideology may be as bad or worse. He may be smarter than Donald Trump, but I don't think he'll be the fucking engineer on that train. There'll
But
be
what
other people around him doing that to him, and they may at that point say, "Hey, it's time we kind of mellow things out a little bit if we have any hopes of this fucking clown winning again in 2028."
well, what kind of, I mean, I try to like, me and you, like Monty Python on the brighter side of life, I people are like, who the hell's Monty Python?
Yeah.
Anybody below 50. And th- the thing that gets me about it is, and I think Trump we call it Trump's I guess what's the word for it? I mean, narcissists won't allow him to do this. But if Trump was to step away and let JD Vance with the Peter Thiel, not so much Elon Musk, because we all know he's, not as effective as we thought he was. That would scare me because they could actually end democracy, which is what we're talking about, how we got to win in 2028. That was my thing about it. That's what I was trying to say is that, I believe he won't get elected. He couldn't get elected dog catcher. But,
Yeah.
if Trump steps away, which he will not, but if something happens to him and he has to step down, that could be when the billionaires get there. That's why, we got to win in 2028, and we got to, we got to pray, actually pray for, Trump's safety because, we got to get through this because like you said, after 2028, MAGA will be done and Trump will be done. But if they get in there before with those billionaires, and you've seen what they've done with Dodge, I mean I mean that we just got to make it through there because 2028 won't matter.
Well, here's the
I
big difference.
firmly believe that.
Here's the big difference. Like you say, his ideology and the oligarchs and stuff like that. I understand that. But there is nobody in Congress that is afraid of J.D. Vance. Nobody's afraid of him because they can piss him off and he can't primary them. He can't do shit to them. So he's not going to be as powerful as Donald Trump because members of Congress won't vote for something they wholeheartedly are against, which they will do for Donald Trump, and or think it's going to hurt them. The complicity of the House of Representatives and the Senate, the Republicans with Donald Trump, is unbelievable to me. I can't believe they're still doing this close to the election and this long after he's taken office. But J.D. Vance won't be able to pull that off. He won't be able to pull that off because nobody's afraid of that motherfucker. He will be, put it this way: he could easily get impeached by his own people to try to get somebody better in there because Republicans don't like the motherfucker. He's
Yeah.
an idiot. He's an idiot politically speaking. He may be a smart writer, he may be smart academically, but politically, he's a dumb motherfucker. And that's not going to bode well for the Republican Party if Donald Trump is off the fucking roster.
Well, you got to forgive me, Mike. I will never get over November. You
No,
know,
I will not
I
either.
won't get over that. And I don't have a lot of faith in people
No, I
because
don't either.
there was a poll going out, if you believe polls or not, the Democrats are not looked as a party of the people, the Republicans are. After all this shit they're doing, people are still, the majority of people in those polls, not America, are saying that, which I kind of think those polls are screwed. I don't really believe them because we all thought Kamala was going to win. That was another thing about it. And,
Yeah,
other things. And they're not calling these, these polls, like all these districts that are turning. I think I saw something on TikTok. I forget the young man's name. We talk about him a lot. Was talking about how there's a district that Trump won in New York that's
right.
like for 55% or some ungodly number. It's like New York, really? That the guy's either winning or I haven't, so there's so much news going on, you kind of lose. That's why I turn on
Yeah.
to the Retro Boomer daily. And you just you lose fucking track, man. But there was something he was saying about, maybe you can elaborate on that, but there was something that a Trump district that he won that those are starting to go blue because I think maybe not the person, polled by CNN is seeing it, but I think a lot of MAGA people are seeing it and it's taking the death. And what's sad, it takes it happening to them and theirs for people to get fucking upset. And it shouldn't have been, it shouldn't be that way.
Well, yeah, there are some red districts that are surprisingly flipping blue, and I think it has a lot to do with, they can try to gaslight people. Uh, we've heard talk about, economic reports being held back or redacted because Donald Trump didn't like what it said. But the fact of the matter is there's people feeling the pain themselves. They don't have to see the report. They're out of a job. They don't have uh, support in whatever way they want it. And, they can try to gaslight people all they want, but when a vast majority of the people are affected by what's going on, whether it be inflation or whether it be, uh, the Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, people are going to feel it and they are going to they're going to vote accordingly. It doesn't matter what Donald Trump says. What I thought you were getting to was a story that Aaron Parnas put out,
Yes, that's him.
and and you're talking about a district. I don't remember the name of the district. It doesn't really matter. But there's an investigation going on in this district, and the investigation is this. And it's about the election thing. And there's a organization that's investigating this. I should know what it is, but I didn't prepare for that. Um, but in this district, the senator, the Democratic senator running in that state, I think it maybe was New York, uh, won the Senate seat by 75% of the vote. Okay. And Donald Trump got something like six or 700 votes, which doesn't sound crazy. But Kamala got zero votes. Zero votes. That's a little weird. And the same
Okay.
can be said about some places they're looking into in Pennsylvania too, with similar situations. And people are coming to me saying, "What's going on? Is this going to flip it?" I said, "Look, that sounds fishy. And if there's an investigation, cool. And if we find out there's something fucked up there, cool. That's not going to change anything." I said, "However, it might start the unraveling. If we see it in this little district and then we check another district and we check another district, this thing could unravel. But we know how long everything takes. So if you're hoping for some resolution by the weekend, it's not going to happen. It's going to take a while. But it is intriguing that you have a situation like that. And it's nice that it's in a small district because we can see something that just does not make sense. Democratic senator wins overwhelmingly. Donald Trump gets 500 or 600 votes, but Kamala gets zero. That makes no sense. There were some districts in Pennsylvania where Donald Trump gets X amount of votes and Kamala gets zero. Statistically, that's not possible. That's not possible. and that suggests that there might be something fishy going on, I don't think I'd be surprised or you'd be surprised. Like I said, people always say something fishy was going on. That's well and good. Maybe it did. But until there's evidence and somebody who's going to fight it, doesn't fucking matter.
That just shows you how stupid they are. Zero votes.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go out on a limb saying something. In my life, I cheated on a test when I was younger. I
I
cheated on.
might have.
I've done a couple. And I'm not dumb enough to fucking get 100 because my fucking teacher will know something's fucking up if I got
Right.
100 on something. You miss a couple on purpose. Zero? No, you put some votes in there to make it look better. But that's how dumb these people are. I mean, to steal something. And the way things are going right now with Elon and Trump, I read something, because a lot of people are blaming him for it, that, he did that. But also that place in Wisconsin. But it also gives me hope too, that place in Wisconsin that he needed to win so bad that Supreme Court, he wasn't able to touch
Right.
that. So maybe it's not
Right.
every state. But, do you buy into this? Because I've read both sides, into this fight with Trump and I don't know if Trump and Elon are smart enough, but they're saying that, him going after this bill and everything is just another distraction. And, what we've lived through, it wouldn't fucking surprise me. What do you think about that?
Well, I think it's a legitimate breakup. I do. Because I know it was inevitable. You don't take two malignant narcissists and put them in a room and expect uh, them to get along. As I was talking with somebody else, a malignant narcissist can't have any close friends for any period of time because they see the cracks and the narcissist will end up throwing them under the bus. I think there really is some kind of rift going there, and here's why. Um, there was reports that he's talking to people asking, "Was this Doge shit just all bullshit?"
It
I mean, that's
was.
a viable, and he asked that question. There's the nominee to lead NASA, who was Elon's choice, and Donald Trump pulled him from the nomination. There's something going on there, but what's really interesting is Elon Musk is coming out and talking shit about this bill. But what's really weird, as much as he's hammering this bill, what have you heard Donald Trump say about Elon Musk? Nothing. When have you ever heard somebody speak out against Donald Trump without him saying something instantly? Fucking Bruce Springsteen, for God's sake.
There's only one
He's nerve.
person. Yeah.
Who's that? No, go
There's
ahead.
only one person has attacked Trump. The only person I know, and Trump never said anything against, and that's Greg Popovich. All these people, I have never seen Trump go after Greg Popovich. So there's something to people that are strong. You know what I mean? Maybe Springsteen doesn't look as strong, but when you look at somebody like a Popovich or something like that, he goes after the low-hanging fruit. So he probably doesn't, he may not be going after Elon because he's scared of Elon. When I saw him going like, like this and the fucking thing, he fucking scared me, dude. I mean, damn, it's a
Well,
scary fucker.
the thing about it is, I heard Lawrence O'Donnell, who I love. He's probably one of the best guys on TV and the
Yes.
one guy I'll watch if I get the opportunity. He said the reason he thought he was scared of Elon because he still wants access to money and he doesn't want to burn that bridge. Donald Trump is calculating here. He doesn't want to burn that bridge because he still wants access to the money. And I disagree with that because he can get money any number of ways. Money isn't a problem for Donald Trump at this point. He's grifting every fucking possible way. He can go into one of these countries that he's going to try to do a tariff with and grift money out of them. He can grift it out of Qatar or whatever the fuck he wants. I don't think that's it. If you're
Man,
a
that's
if you're a malignant narcissist, the one thing that you're most afraid of is being exposed for being weak or criminal or just any dirt on you at all. And Elon Musk has some dirt. No doubt he has some dirt. And it may be regarding the election. It could be regarding almost anything. But Donald Trump is rationalizing this out. He's a malignant narcissist. Elon Musk is. And what's a commonality with malignant narcissists? They're very emotional. They open their mouth before they're thinking, and they'll say anything. They'll burn bridges and scorch the earth every fucking time, and then afterwards say, "Oh, I fucked up." That happens all the time with these people. But then you throw in the fact that Elon Musk is also a pretty serious drug addict. Well, Elon's a fucking wild card at that point. Elon's a big wild card, and Donald Trump is afraid of what he might fucking say. Because who knows? For all we know, Elon Musk was going to uh, Jeffrey Epstein's island, and he has some shit on that. Who knows, really? But Donald Trump is terrified that Elon Musk is going to say something to embarrass him, and it may not even be a big thing. He's so averse to being embarrassed, he's scared of it all. And he can't trust that Elon won't say something. He just can't trust. And Elon's prodding this fucker along, calling him out, talking about his bill, saying it's the worst bill. It's a disgusting abomination. And Donald Trump hasn't said a word. That's fucking crazy. That's very telling to me.
I tell you what, if he does lose, to Elon, like Elon's is a money code, and he talks about raising tariffs, man, those penguins are fucked, dude. I
Yeah.
mean, it's just, they just need to get a new island and shit. But I saw something today, speaking of Doge and stuff. I don't know if you heard of Wired. It's kind of a techie
Yeah.
magazine. There's
Yeah.
a report, and I was going to send you the screenshot but if anybody can go read that, there's, I guess, inside saying that Elon hasn't really left Doge. He's telling people he's lying to us that he's left, but he's still very much in charge. These are people that work there that have no reason to not say this. So they could be
Well, that
fucking, doing that whole wrestling thing in the background, like you scratch my back, I scratch your back. And that's what kind of made me ask, like, what do you think about this? Them fighting. But one more story about this is how dumb Trump is. That's why I don't think he'd do it. Trump and Vince McMahon used to be real, big
yeah.
friends, and I was a wrestling fan. There was an angle when, Vince McMahon, who I actually believe was a billionaire, not more than Trump, and actually, provided something useful. I mean, if you can call wrestling useful compared to,
Well,
Trump
people
steaks.
were willing to pay for it.
And there was an article, there was a thing where Vince McMahon, what they do is when in wrestling, I don't know if you're familiar with it. I mean, you are, but when they want somebody, if somebody's got an injury, they beat the guy up or say he had some kind of accident to get him off TV for a while.
Right.
So McMahon was doing that. He was always riding on TV, so we're going to give him a Mr. McMahon a break from TV. So, and this is a few years ago. I don't know if they do this shit now, but he was in a limo, and and it was filming, and it was a limo, and these guys were talking back and forth, and they got him in the limo. Obviously, he got out of the fucking limo. The limo blew up, and was like, "Oh my God, he's dead." Do you know that Trump called the WWE? And was like looking in on Vince McMahon. Okay, I used to think
Well,
wrestling was real when I was like 12 or 13. Even I fucking
yeah.
grew out of that shit. But I was like, and when you say that too, and he may be scared of that because what Elon could do is Elon could turn state's evidence and he could hop on a plane and get the fuck out of America. Trump
Yeah.
can't do that with the Secret Service and shit. They're not gonna let that happen. So
Right.
Eli, in a sense, holds the cards. But I don't know if I don't think he's very smart either. He may not, he may be so high he doesn't remember what he's got on Trump. Who knows?
No, Elon's not, he's socially awkward. He may be smart in some areas. He's not as smart as he plays, but he does some dumb things. I mean, like, for example, I'm going to run Doge and do cuts and I'm going to be a hero. Yeah, that didn't work out real well. But here's the thing, if we're talking to malignant narcissists like Donald Trump and say this is a false flag thing where they just plan this fight and just to distract the attention, even if that was to happen, there is no way, there's no way Donald Trump would say, "Hey, listen, talk shit about my bill. Talk
Oh
shit
yeah,
about my."
exactly.
There's no way
Exactly.
he'd say that.
I agree.
No way.
Yeah, he's that kind of guy that's not what you call a team player.
No.
He's that one guy that you have fucking 10 people, or maybe not as many, 10, 3 or 4 people that have this fucking plan that all they need to do is work together. But the one guy doesn't get out of it what he wants. They'll get all this money, but he'd rather have it all himself and not split
Right.
it. So he's
Right.
not going to do that. I guarantee you, he won't do that because I do think at his age, he's not all there. I don't think he was ever all there. But when you look at the stuff like you kind of look at how Trump was back in the 80s, and you look at, all these like Pizza Hut commercials come up. He came across as very what's that word? Charismatic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now it's like when you hear him talk, and I think this is why maybe a reason we're not seeing him, he's struggling to come up with stuff. It's like
Yeah.
that the election should have been over when Kamala asked him if he had a plan. Well, we have a concept of a plan.
Right.
Any other, Gary Hart's got to be somewhere kicking his dog, saying, God damn, that's all it took. You know what I mean? I had a broad sit on my lap, and it's just that cult mentality that, and it's not just MAGA, it's Republicans in general too. And you're talking to one, that I would see people in my life because I grew up in conservative with my dad, but I fucking loved Lloyd Benson when I was a kid. I would have
Yeah.
voted for the caucus if I had done it because of Lloyd Benson, because that guy was one of the best representatives Texas ever had. And it's a shame that Ted Cruz holds that seat. It is a fucking shame. And
Right.
Lloyd Benson or whatever, what he did to Dan Quayle, it's just, that's what we're missing. So I don't know, man. It's just like I don't know what else you got to, but there. Oh, I was getting to I'm pulling a Trump. I'm losing my fucking train of thought. Oh my God, help me. Not only is MAGA a cult, the Republicans are a cult. Because I've seen
Oh
it
yeah.
time and time again, all that time. They will not vote for anybody with a D in front of their name. They
Yeah.
rather vote for, that's what I ask people too. And I go, is it because they're a Democrat? Yes. So this Democrat over here could cure cancer, touch the sick, make them high, touch my head, make my fucking hair grow, and they'd still vote for fucking a Republican. And it doesn't matter which one. It's not just Trump. So that's something that, we're talking about the Gavin Newsom thing. I think that would be kind of hard, as a Republican. And that's why I don't quite buy it. But, that party and maybe the Democratic Party, maybe they need to be destroyed to rise from the ashes, as they say. The phoenix rises from the ashes and starts anew.
Well, and I think that may be happening. The Republicans are destroyed. They will be further destroyed. But I think the Democrats are in for some dramatic changes. They've got to make some dramatic changes because what didn't work in November 5th, they still want to stick to it. But I look at the electorate in this country, and I'm not saying everybody, of course, but enough for Donald Trump to win. We are an unsophisticated group of people. Kamala Harris, Walls, they try to explain, okay, we got this problem. This is what we're going to do. All Donald Trump said was, I'm bringing down inflation. I'm bringing down prices. Had no explanation as to how he would do that. No explanation at all how he would do that. But people would say, I like that idea. So, what I'm saying is, we've got a lot of people out there that are voting for president that are simple minded fuckers that only want to hear what they want to hear. So, let's take that fucking hint for the Democrats and say, okay, let's tell them what we want to hear. We can tell them how we're going to do it, but the main focus said, we're going to bring down inflation. We're going to bring down cost. We're going to do this. You don't have to spend all the time going into how you're going to do it because they get bored and they don't listen to it. It worked with Donald Trump. Why not working for the Democrats? We're trying to overthink people who are largely simple-minded. And I hate to say that because I'm saying America's dumb, but they voted for Donald Trump. So at least 49% of this country are fucking dumb.
And the other 49% are fucking lazy that didn't vote for Kamala.
Yeah,
Okay. You talk about president candidates and who you like. I really like Pete Buttigieg.
I
I
do
don't
too.
know if he would win being, well, I don't know. I don't know. I think homosexuality is, really accepted. It should have been accepted a long time ago because it happened in the fucking Bible times. People don't realize.
Yeah.
And the thing about that, that's not a problem for me. I don't care what he does in his bedroom. I'm like a Texas Republican. I don't care. Can he help me out? Can he help this country out? Can he help us get out of this shit we're in? Yes. And it's funny to see that Duffy guy, that, some MTV realities guy, you know, talk about how this shit's all messed up because of fucking Pete. All this shit right after Pete left, so it's all his fault. That tells me Pete was fucking doing it right, and Abbott and Costello, and that's, insult the Abbott and Costello that took over, are fucking the ones. So I like Pete because I think he's young, and sadly to say, he's white and he's male, and
Right.
that's just that tells a lot about our society. I want to believe that we're past the gay thing, which it shouldn't matter. It doesn't matter to me or you, but it matters to a lot of the, people out there who, think WWE is real. And I just, I want him, but it's like a Pete, and I don't know if he'd do it, or maybe a Tim Waltz Pete ticket, but I don't know if
Yeah.
Tim Waltz would run for vice president again. I don't know. But and that other guy you were mentioning, I get I'm so terrible with names, but every time I hear Pete talk, I listen. A lot of politicians don't have that to me, but when I hear there's like two politicians, and a lot of people don't know him yet, and I think if Kamala would have won, it's our mayor, Ron Norenberg. If he would have, if she would have won, he would have been in her cabinet, like Julian Castro, our former mayor. I
Right.
think it's Julian or Jack. He's got a brother that's in the center. I get them mixed up, but it's sad that it's like Pete. When I hear those, because he does a weekly show down here in San Antonio, the mayor, and I listen to him, and and I know how he's good because I got MAGA people that hate him, and
Yeah.
we're having one more thing about Texas. We're having a runoff in San Antonio. Gina Ortiz Jones, I don't know if you remember her. She ran against Will Hurd back in the day for
Right.
the Will Hurd's the one that I guess who's Gonzalez is there now. And I'm not too crazy about her because there was some kind of runoff thing that it was obviously that Will Hurd won, and and as a Republican, I'd really laugh at him. She showed up for the orientation for the House when it
Yeah.
was obvious he'd win, but they had to run a runoff, and I'm like, and she's running for mayor, and I live outside the city limits, so I can't vote for mayor until like 2032 when they annex us. But the guy San Antonio's notoriously blue, and one of the guys coming in is a Greg Abbott guy, and he's giving her shit for losing, Gina Ortiz Jones. Well, she's using her middle name. What's her fucking middle name? Like y'all use Saddam Hussein or whatever, or was it Obama Hussein or whatever? They don't like what's done to them. But I've had people tell me our mayor is like a Marxist, and I'm going. Wait till you get a leftist lesbian as your mayor. You're really going to shit then, aren't you? I mean, I'm hoping she wins and just to rub it in them.
No, here's the thing about Pete Buttigieg. I think you said something uh, very important. We need to win this election whatever fucking way we can. And Pete is incredibly competent. He's incredibly bright. He's articulate. He's smart. He's adaptable, but he is young. He is young. Um, and because I mean, think about what his accomplishments are. He was a mayor in a town in Indiana, right?
Hmm.
Uh, um, a college town,
Transportation.
uh, and he was a transportation director.
Yeah.
That's still pretty inexperienced, and he's still pretty young. I'm trying to see how old he is. Um, I mean, he's got to be in his 40s, maybe.
I just like hearing the man speak. He just makes so much fucking sense. Maybe America's not ready for that.
Well, no, they're ready for that. Again, and they may be ready for the fact that he's gay, but again, we can't take any gambles here.
Yeah,
What I would think would be more likely is that Pete would be a vice presidential candidate.
I can see that. Yeah, that's what I was stuck with Waltz or whatever. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, Pete
That's
would
I
be
think
the
that's
vice
a
presidential candidate.
sorry. Mhm. I think
Oh,
that's
it would
a
be a great team with Walls
yeah,
and Buttigieg, two brilliant guys and two guys who know how to do business.
yeah. And I think that's a big reason we're in this right now is because of Obama, because Obama won too soon.
Yeah,
Because you look at it, Obama, one of the best presidents in my lifetime, and I didn't vote for him either time because I was still drinking the Kool-Aid evidently. Okay, I regret one time, the other time I don't. John McCain, rest in peace. I don't regret voting for you, but I mean, he's one of the best speakers, one of the most charismatic guys we have out there, and he's on the bench. We can't do nothing with him.
right.
That's why people are saying, well, Trump can run again, so can Obama. And it's like, and it kind of goes back to, I think my personal belief is that I think Biden would have won. I think he would have beat Hillary and won the nomination back but Bo died. And I just because I think he won really well in 2020. Don't let anybody tell you he had the largest ever, and he was even more. I don't think the media is. I think they're hitting on him and they're saying he's not as popular as he was. He had low ratings. Trump has always had those low ratings. Trump
Yeah.
never had high ratings like as Obama did and Trump and Biden did. But if Obama or if Biden would have won, went through 2 terms, Obama could be our president now. Can you imagine how much this country would flourish? And you're right. If he would have, you know, stayed back, got more experience in Congress, Obama doing this stuff, he may have been even better president. Yeah, you're right. I can see your point about having Pete as vice president. I would love that. I would. I mean, honestly, there's not too many Democrats that I dislike, but I mean, I would probably, and not knowing who the president would be, I would vote for that ticket. Well, I'd vote for a ticket anyway, but I would really vote for that ticket, and I would probably campaign for Pete.
Yeah, and it could be Pritzker and Pete. What I'm saying is, you said something earlier, something I just hate when people say, but you're absolutely right. Well, I don't know if we're ready for it. There should be nothing we
I
aren't
agree.
ready for, given the fact that we elected Donald Trump. The fact that Pete's gay doesn't bother me in the least. Look, I'm a heterosexual guy. You're a heterosexual guy. But you know what? Neither of us know about our sexual habits. And we don't fucking care. So why would we care about somebody who's gay? It's just so fucking ridiculous. Um, but maybe you get him in there as the vice president, get people comfortable with him on a higher profile. And I think Pete could very well be president someday. I think Kamala would have been a great president. Whether she'll get another opportunity, I don't honestly know. I kind of would be surprised if she did, and I wish she could. But again, it's a matter of uh, we need to win the election, and whatever it takes. If we need two big dumb white guys to win, then that's what we fucking do. But there's one other politician that's been sitting on the bench for a long time, and in my estimation, maybe one of the best politicians in this country. That is Stacey Abrams.
But
You know, she's
she's like Beto. She has a 1-0, and she's done a lot of stuff on the backside. I get it, but it's just you talk about Pete not having any experience. It's like back in the old days. Nixon would lose and come back a couple of years later. That's not the way it is anymore running for president, I don't think. And I think that's a
no,
big shame for Kamala is because she would have been so good. And when I say we're not ready, what I was, more implying for was I don't think not so much the gay thing, but it's like what I meant is what she should have won, but we weren't quite ready. And I don't know if I'm explaining it right, but we weren't quite ready for Kamala. And I say that as Democrats because obviously the Democrats didn't show up for her like they did Biden. That's what I meant. I mean, we got to make sure we go out there with somebody. And I go back to Obama. He had Biden in there, and I don't think Biden gets enough credit for shaping how Obama got. He got the freaking Obama to recognize, gay rights. Obama wasn't for that.
absolutely.
And
Well,
when he got the Affordable Care Act, this is a big fucking deal. I mean, I love Joe Biden even back then. I mean, who knows? Back then, I may have voted for Biden, over
yeah,
Romney or something. Who knows?
and the thing about it is they picked Biden very specifically. It wasn't because they needed to win Delaware. It was because he was the most experienced guy there. He knew how to play the game. And
Yes.
Obama was self aware enough to know that I don't know how to play the game as well as Joe Biden. So I'll be the figurehead, I'll be the president, and I'll make the decisions. But I got a guy on the bench that knows everything. And that paid off
Yeah.
in that 8 year term. It paid off big. And somebody like Pete Buttigieg, uh, he's a smart guy too, and he has some understanding on the federal level. And if you get a Pritzker or a Walls in there, they understand being a CEO of a state. Together, they can get a lot of shit done. But all those years we had vice presidents that didn't do anything; they were just fucking out there. It kind of changed with Cheney. Cheney was actually the president
Yeah.
over Bush, but this is what I mean. I think we're going to look at a dramatic change in politics because what's going to happen with Donald Trump and MAGA is going to be so catastrophic. It's going to change everybody's view of politics altogether. Like I've said before, some of the crimes and corruption we see now have been going on for decades. The only difference is Donald Trump's so stupid, he brought it all to the surface, so it's all for all to see, and the media's all over it. So maybe this is what needs to happen. We need the eruption on the skin and have it explode in order to heal it. And if that happens, I think the Democrats are going to be affected as much as the Republicans.
Yeah, but there's one thing that both parties need to do, and that's reach younger generations. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, they do.
if you don't allow them to negotiate their student loan debt, and I never look down on people with student loans. A lot of people do, but they give corporations, there was somebody was talking about all these, I think it was Bernie Sanders, and they were talking about how all these, corporations get all this, corporate welfare. But the one thing they don't allow is like what affects like the students. You have these houses out there that are like laying empty because people are dying off.
Yeah,
And what these older MAGA people don't realize is that when they, get that heavy burden, and this is what I think Obama talked about. This is what Biden went behind, and Biden gets criticized for trying to do those executive orders to, get, those student loans taken care of. I mean, we've all had bills that we haven't paid. Trump's the king of debt, writing
yeah,
shit off. And then Republicans tell us, well, you need to pay your bills. The same people that took those loans out during COVID didn't pay them back. But,
right.
some kid out there who doesn't have a rich, that happened to me. I really didn't have I hated school growing up. I mean, it wasn't my thing really. I mean, I was more of a worker and do that stuff. But, I look back now, I wish I would have done stuff different. But I'm also glad and happy that I'm at where I'm at, that I didn't have to get out a loan, all those loans. But there's a lot of people that have that. Companies are notorious back when I was in college for, giving you all these credit card applications, free cash. And if you're
Yeah,
responsible for it, which I sure as hell wasn't, get out there and you spend it. But when you have all this interest building up, and what these older MAGA people that are so pissed off about the Supreme Court stopping these visions is that that's opening up more people to look at your house. There was a report going out there that there's more houses than there are buyers in like a
right.
long time. But when you're sit there in MAGA and you can, with your flag and everything, your house fucking been for sale for 20 years, maybe not 20, but you get what I'm saying. Some kid who has a family could have got those loans, maybe not wiped out, but eased, or maybe worked with them, or maybe let them allow them to declare bankruptcy to get that shit off there. It's like medical debt. You can bankrupt anything except student loans. That is the only fucking thing you can't do. And
Right.
it's like if that kid, I say kid, 21-year-old who just maybe served in the military, has a wife expecting, you know what I mean? They move into that old house. You can get that, go move to a condo and retire. And that would be because, it's not owning the libs, but it's hurting them too. And that's what a lot of these people don't realize. And we have it here. to where we're having to close a couple of schools because you go through the neighborhood, it's an older neighborhood. It's like 60s, 70s. And there's people, way older than us. And it's like, and I know they die every day. Like you talked about the
Yeah.
boomers dying, all those boomers dying. And then those houses, what do they happen? The banks come in and buy them when they can't, or they sell them to one of these second-rate things. I'll give you, $20 on the, whatever you owe for it. The banks come in and buy all these houses and they rent them, and they rent them higher than what apartments are. I mean, it's
Right.
ridiculous.
I'll give you my theory on fixing the economy. And there'll be a lot of people that disagree with me. But fuck you. It's my show and I'll do whatever the fuck I want. But when I say this, it's looking at the long term. Um, Student loans should be forgiven because they're predatory. They're way higher than they were when I was a kid. So to make that comparison is ridiculous. But as you were kind of pointing out, you got all these millennials and Gen Zs coming up. If they're saddled with debt, they can't buy houses, they can't buy cars, they can't buy anything discretionary, and that's going to fuck up the economy. But to further boost the economy, take the trillions of dollars that you're going to give rich people that's going to do nothing. Give everybody a free education. You want to go to college? It's free. You want to go to trade school? It's free. Fuck, we've got a shortage of tradespeople. We can't get a plumber without a month's notice anymore. We need more tradespeople. But if you send people to college, we fix one problem where we know at least 49% of this country is fucking stupid. We've got an epidemic of stupid in this country, and we need to fix it. It's like any other crisis. You get fires, you get hurricanes, we pour money into it. We got a problem of uneducated people. Now, we educate these people and put them in a position to get decent jobs and do well for themselves. Guess what? They buy more shit, they pay more taxes. This is what's going to improve the economy, and this is maybe what needs to be done. We need to free up people from their slave contracts with these ridiculous debts and give anybody a chance to be educated. If you got a bunch of stupid people in your country and it's a crisis, and it is, let's educate them. Let's educate them and send them out and get good jobs and pay taxes and buy houses and buy cars. That would fix the economy not only today, but going on in the future. If that was our policy to take care of the people in this country, it's like what Joe Biden found out. You pour money into the middle class, guess what? The economy flourishes. That's opposite of what the Republicans want to do, but it worked. And that's what I'm saying. Pour all your money into the backbone of your country, the people who pay the most in taxes, and let's get them pay more taxes by getting them better jobs and getting them better education. What do you think?
I think you're right. And I think that's why the Republicans, is mainly Donald Trump, are going against like these universities
Mm-hmm.
and the Department of Education. We all saw the leader of the Department of Education. We talked about that earlier, how much of a nitwit she, just because you got money don't mean you're smart. Trump and her
No.
are proof of that. But, that's why they're going at that, because a lot of these schools that aren't religious they don't indoctrinate you. They teach you to they teach you to think on your own. I had to say that
Right.
slow. And it's like, but if you're in a Christian school, I mean, I've been to a Christian school, and it's indoctrination 101 from, the beginning of the bell to the end of the day, during lunch too. And, that's why they're fighting on that, because they want, especially Trump, he wants to be like Putin. And I think he may want to be more like his buddy over there in North Korea. When those people are so beat down that they're spoon fed what to read. That's why he would love for us to worship him and do like they did in North Korea. That would be his fucking wet dream. He would love that. Fuck Putin. He wants to be Kim Jong-un. I mean,
Why do
he'll
you
tell
think
you
he's
now,
having a
he'll say,
parade on the 14th?
yeah.
What
I mean,
exactly?
it's and it's just and there. I think there was somebody saying that they're going to sing happy birthday to him. It's like that's
Oh,
what they
gee,
do in North
yeah.
Korea. I mean, of course,
Yeah.
they do it in Russia, but they got the gun to the guy's head, like in that airplane movie when he was reading the news. That goes way back. Sorry, but yeah, you're right. I mean, it's. They're destroying education for that. That's why Greg Abbott down here got the vouchers done. And people were like, why would, and a lot of Republicans asked that too. Well, I support public education. A lot of them work there. Why would he do this? Is because they want indoctrinate their kids indoctrinated. There is a growing up, there's a podcast I listened to. I've mentioned him before. His name is Seth Andrews. He's called The Thinking Atheist.
Hmm.
And he talks about he grew up like I did, and I think that's why I identify with him. And even and I think that's why a lot of people a lot of people I know, Gen X maybe, that I'm not saying everybody was like this, but there's a big population out there, and you would wear we would have to wear these ties that had the American flag on them. And he posted a picture on Facebook. It's like I had that same fucking tie. And there's a source about Becca. It's called Becca. It's like what, and I've heard them still mentioned for like a lot of homeschool and everything. But that's the people that the indoctrination, and what people don't realize. I mean, there's a lot of Republicans that aren't Christian. They don't believe, I mean,
Right.
believe what we believe. But what they're doing, and especially here in Texas, they put up the Ten Commandments. That passed. That's going in. If I'm Joe Sixpack over there and yeah, I voted for Trump, but I don't believe in God, that'd piss me off. But Trump did it,
Yeah,
so it's ought
you
to
would
be
think
right.
so.
But yeah, there's in Texas is, I will go on a limb and say Texas is the worst state in the union. I don't think DeSantis, is very smart. I think Greg Abbott is very smart. He's very smart and very calculating. And what he did is what they did is what Greg Abbott did in Texas is what I wish Democrats would do. He'll primary what David Hogg's trying to do, the ones that aren't helping the cause and get them out of there. School vouchers were defeated because Republicans voted against them, voted against them, voted against them. Ken Paxton got indicted by Republicans, not Democrats, because Democrats don't have power down here. So what did Ken Paxton do? Ken Paxton and Ken Paxton, I think they're both uh, try not to use too many bad words. You know me, Mike, I don't cuss. So, I mean, they're very smart at what they're doing. And they want to retain power. Ken Paxton got indicted by Republicans, got impeached. It went over to the Senate, like this, like in America, like in the Federalist level. Dan Patrick, one of the biggest MAGA guys are out there. Our Attorney General, or no, our Attorney General? That's Ken Paxton. There's so many buffoons running this state.
Yeah.
He was running the court. That would almost be like, I mean, that would be like, that would be putting Rudy Giuliani in the head of the Senate during Trump getting impeached. That's exactly what it is. They're two peas in a pod.
Yeah.
And they passed the vouchers, and the vouchers got killed and got killed when they had Paxton and Abbott did twofold. They went after the people that went after Paxton and primaried them, got them beated because Trump was behind them. Greg Abbott went and did that thing about the people that voted against the vouchers, primaried them. There are like two or three of them, got rid of them. So this session that just ended, the vouchers was the first thing. And they don't fund education worth a fuck down here, as every red state. They had
Yeah.
Donald Trump involved, and they had these Republicans that were on the fence, and Trump got involved and got the vouchers passed. And people are like, well, there's enough money to go around for everybody. People don't realize is that we're slow. And I tell people this and they look at me like I have three fucking heads. I go, remember how progressive Iran used to be? You had women in miniskirts on the fucking beach in the 60s.
Yeah.
That is where Texas is heading. And I think that's Trump's plan. He's not going to live long enough to see it. We may not live long enough to see it. They are planning this to make this Christian nationalism like the Islamic thing and
Yeah.
took over. I mean, but the only thing about it, the Islamics, they took it over by the power, overtaking, this embassy and winning that and stuff like that. But what happened with Texas, it was blue for a long time, and Ann Richards was our last, Democratic governor. And Texas is great and has a lot of good shit, but in 30 years, the cancer from inside is growing and they want it to spread throughout the United. That's why they have, Texas, Oklahoma, we're coming for a split if this keeps happening because the blue states aren't going to put up with this shit.
I was watching on TikTok, Mr. Global came up and he was stitching something where a guy said, you Democrats love the teachers and stuff, but our kids can't read
Yeah, I
and the
saw that.
test scores are low." And Mr. Global pointed out something very pointed is that, yeah, we've got kids that can't read and test scores are low, but they're all in the red states. Blue states usually do have pretty good scores because they put more money into fucking education.
Yep.
They want to perpetuate what they are living in right now. To them, it seems like education is shit because their education is shit in some of those red states. Now, I don't know how it is in Texas,
Hmm.
but if you go to Alabama or Mississippi or Arkansas, it's the lowest of the fucking low, and it's directly proportional to the amount of money they put into the education. Here in Minnesota, it's pretty good. I mean, we have our problems too, but if you compare us to Alabama, there's no fucking comparison.
Yeah, Texas is a cold-blooded state. Last year, I guess when Biden was still president, they have that summer feeding stuff that they give to the states. We denied it.
Right,
We
right.
didn't want it for our thing. I mean, the poorest among us, get fucked. I don't know about tech. I talk about Greg Abbott and Paxton doing this stuff. There's two things that are giving me a little bit of hope, and I think it's going to be Greg Abbott's undoing. They passed this law. Dan Patrick made it his mission. I mean, there was a couple years ago that they passed something where they could have THC stuff in Texas and like so many like I'm not a smoker. I don't know what it is, but
Yeah,
they're not dispensary so much, but they have a lot of these vape shops and all this stuff, and they have this like Kool-Aid looking liquid that I guess has THC or whatever. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know this shit. And I have a lot of my friends that are Republicans. Well, maybe they're not my friends. Maybe my coworkers just say that. They're fucking big time tokers. They smoke all that shit. Well, Paxton has made it his. You should see this, Mike. This guy had made a bigger ass of himself than ever. He was at a thing and he before it started saying that it's going to be my mission to get rid of this shit. We shouldn't have let it happen 2 years ago. It is a thriving business in Texas.
yeah,
It has created a lot of jobs. And what he's too stupid to know, they could legalize this shit and they wouldn't have to fucking rely on the federal government. They could be their own fucking country. I mean, I say that in jest, but the he was at a thing and they were asking him, well, why do you want this so much? And he got up there and he had this bottle and he tried to go into a store to buy something and he didn't think that they would card him. I mean, he's a 50, 70-year-old man or something, or he had a fake ID and they didn't, and they failed the test, but he still wanted to pass it. So he got everybody to do it. And he told the House, he's in the Senate, hey, if you pass this shit, you get maybe some of your bills in. So those Republicans caved. So
yeah.
they signed the bill to ban this shit, which would close a lot of businesses. And they're trying to say it's for the children, the same fucking children we want to starve. Most of the bills had been signed, but Dan Abbott hasn't signed that THC yet. And I saw this guy on TV that covers Austin, and he was saying, "Well, this could be." Normally, he would sign it because Abbott was saying, "Well, we shouldn't have let this happen in the first place." I mean, it's a total fucking ban. I mean, it totally wipes, kicks the dog out with the dog, the bathwater. And they're getting a lot of pushback from Republicans. 56, I would say 46% of people, or something like it was like 46 to 44, don't want it to happen. And Greg
It's
Abbott wants to be president one day, and now they're getting all this pushback, and he hasn't signed it. And all these veterans are showing up saying how much it helps them.
yeah.
So he's going to quandary it now, but he's going to sign it, and that may be their undoing in Texas.
That was my next question. But before I say that, I don't know if you heard this, but one of the brilliant statements coming out of our Director of Health and Human Services, RFK Jr., he pointed out that we have a problem with vapes or vape product because apparently the Chinese are putting gay drugs in them. So you got all these cowboys down in Texas sucking on those vapes, getting all those gay drugs. Maybe they wouldn't want it if they heard that.
I had heard that. Oh, fuck, it doesn't surprise me. Well, that's what Pete can do. When he runs for president, he can give everybody a fucking vape pen and we'll all accept him as president. Yeah, go
Yeah.
Pete. What the
Well,
fuck, dude?
we're coming to the end here, but I was going to ask you further about the vouchers and the vape thing and stuff like that. It's well and good to say, I want to do this. I want to do this. But when you do it and it fails and it's people hate it, we get down to, as I say, nut cutting time when they actually get what they want and it goes to shit. Is that enough to get people to fucking say, well, we should think twice about this guy? I mean, if he shuts down all these businesses and all the jobs that he's going to shut down just for his religious or whatever the fuck he's calling it, it's going to piss off a lot of people. Is that going to be enough in Texas? The vouchers, when vouchers go to shit, because it doesn't work, it's not going to work. The general people in Texas are going to suffer for it. We know that's a fact. Do these people finally realize, hey, this guy fucked us, or do they just go along to get along?
Well, it may very well do it. I don't know what was the party in charge that got rid of prohibition or prohibition, started prohibition. I'm sure they lost a few races.
Yeah,
This may do it because, like we've talked in the past, a lot of people, it not until it affects them. If I'm not getting my weekly buzz, and one of the biggest donators to Dan Patrick is which is something I support, is the Alcoholic Commission. I have a beer every once in a while, but that's about it.
yeah.
But he got all this funding and stuff. It may be enough, Mike, to do that because a lot of people can't afford to send their kids to private school. Yeah, they're giving these people a $10,000 voucher, but I mean, how many, you got to be making a lot of money to do that. I mean, it's not going to cover everything. 10,000 at a
No,
private school is going to run out, but that may do it because obviously when we had the freeze and grandma and grandpa died and froze to death and our grid went out, that wasn't enough. Uvalde wasn't enough. Hell, maybe THC will be our way out of it, maybe turning blue.
yeah, you never know. I mean,
If it is,
that's
I'll light one up myself.
well, that's the thing with the Republicans. It's like the tariffs. All the Republicans going, yeah, tariffs. And then when the economy goes to shit and people lose jobs, what do? They go, yeah, it's still good. No, they don't do that. They're gonna fucking turn on it. And maybe that's the only thing you can do with stupid Republicans is let them burn themselves down before people actually realize that they're dumb fucks. It's a sad state and goes back to what I said why we need to send more people to college because you're too stupid to see the obvious.
Well, there's one thing that I've read, and I don't know how true it is throughout the states, but down here, and I wish I had this, maybe it would have been my route to go when I was younger. But we have at my school district, like all school districts, they have an auto, learn auto. There's a lot more interest in this younger generation. They're not looking at college as the end all do all, which I totally agree with. I made it without. Could I have been more with a college degree? Yeah, but I'd still be $400,000 in debt. Trade schools are the way to go. Like you talk about the plumber. I mean, I've heard stories about these guys that are making, shit, 30, 40, $50 an hour. I mean,
100 grand a year, yeah.
when the fucking shit starts rising, they need somebody to clean that up, and I ain't above that. But I think a lot of people in my generation look down upon that. I can remember that. Well, he's just a custodian, or he's just a no. You're a fucking human being who's doing a fucking service to somebody. You don't treat anybody different. Maybe this generation will be different. Maybe they'll be more woke than a lot of us were, and I say woke is a good thing. And they'll go towards this, be the common man, see that what's trying to screw you. Yeah, I mean, like I said, in Texas, it seems to be rising. Maybe maybe that gives us another hope, maybe, that gives
I
us
tell
hope
you
that
what, you may look down on tradesmen, but I
no,
will tell you this. I will tell you this. If you raise two teenage boys and the sewer line gets clogged and
yeah,
they can't come out for a month, they're your fucking heroes when they show up. I'm just saying. I'm
yeah,
just saying
I can
that
imagine.
Yeah. No, we need more tradespeople and we need more educated people, and we got a lot of dumb motherfuckers out there. It's unfortunate, but we do. Well, we're coming to the end here. Jason, I want to thank you for stopping by today and having this conversation. It's always good to get your perspective from Texas and on a general level, on the federal level as well. That's what this is about, getting other people's insights and perceptions of things, whether we agree or not, really doesn't make a difference. As I always tell people, do not take advice from anybody, including me. Just listen to what everybody says and then make the best decision for yourself. Be informed and make good decisions for yourself. Advice is bullshit. All I can do is say what I think. You can say what you think, and then people can take it from there and do what they will.
There was a famous atheist, I'll mention his name, and he always had this famous saying, Christopher Hitchens, I think. He
Yeah,
said, take the chance of thinking for yourself. You
yeah,
know,
absolutely.
you'll be a lot happier person. You may, and I think both of us can attest to, yeah, we've thought for ourselves and we made some dumbass fucking mistakes, but that's the only way you learn.
Exactly. You know, that the people are so afraid of making a mistake or being wrong. I never really have because I know, okay, if I'm wrong or I made a mistake, then I just spin off and do it differently. At least I know. And then, that's why I try to tell younger people, um, you should talk to more older people. I told my kids this too. I said, everything you're going through, everything you're dealing with, I've already dealt with. Now, I may have made the right choice or I may have made the wrong choice, but isn't it good to know what choice I made? If I made the wrong choice, you could cut that out of your choices. Or if I made the right choice, you could emulate that going forward. It's always good to try to get as much information as you can with everything. And unfortunately, in this country, people read the internet or they watch TV, they hear a headline, and that's all they know.
Yep.
And you got to know more. So, people who listen to the podcast, hopefully, we can give them more information than they're getting from mainstream media. But a lot of people are fucking lazy. And this is why we have 49% of the country voting for Donald Trump.
Yeah, I agree with you. But you're performing a service. You make it very simple. You talk in, you talk in very layman's terms, which I think maybe some of the Democrats' biggest mistake. They talk too
Yeah.
intellectual. People see them
Yeah, I
as
agree.
snobs. But, you have somebody also that, says customers don't know what groceries are. So you're kind of fucked either way.
People listen to me and they go, he says motherfucker. He's the same as me. That's one thing the Democrats do. They tend to play this elite image that
Yes.
they are above it all because they have these positions. Nobody's above it all. Nobody's more important than anybody else. I'm not important than anybody else.
Bingo.
That's why I have listeners on the show. I don't need some fucking clown selling a book telling me what I should think. Fuck you. I don't care. I want to know what people want to know and what they do know. And I think that's far more valuable than listening to somebody who's standing on a fucking platform trying to pontificate to us. That's bullshit.
By the way, Mike, George Soros just sent me my advance. I'll send it to you because I can be on your show next time, promoting my book.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
George, I haven't heard from George lately, and I'm
Motherfucker's
gonna have
been
to give
busy
him.
all these years. He needed a break, dude.
Yeah, I need to give him a call and say, George, you were a little light on the last check. We need to kick that up a notch.
Yes, sir.
Anyway, anyway, Jace, thank you very much for showing up and being part of the show. I appreciate it
Thanks for
immensely.
having me.
Any anytime you want to come on, just call, or if I'm in a position, I'm going to call you one way
Fine.
or another. We'll connect up again, and I appreciate it. Those of you listening, I want to thank you for taking the time to do it. I hope you have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.